that would cause them to sell, such as, you know, if they divorced or they had mortgage defaults. And back then, mortgage defaults was not, you know, something people were initially flooding after, right? Because this was in 2009, I believe. And deaths and probates and, you know, situations like that. So we introduced this into the real estate community. Obviously, you see a lot more of this stuff now, you know, people using data to market in real estate, you know, now that it's what, 13 years later. And the other method that we use, of course, is the age-old method, which is finding pockets of neighborhoods that have high volumes of sales and targeting those, right? Which is a method that's been used since the 70s or 80s, I believe. Most real estate coaches, you know, tell you to do this if you're reaching outside of your sphere of influence. Obviously, you want to target places that where there's a lot of homes selling. So yeah, that's kind of the premise here. Common mistakes I do see with I also, by the way, do consulting work for real estate agents, helping them with their marketing campaigns, and teach title reps to show real estate agents the correct way of marketing as well. So common mistakes I see are mainly, you know, when things are told, sometimes it's the telephone game, right? So you go into a brokerage, real estate agents have some of the truth and some of its fallacies, right, about marketing. So one of the ones that's a truth but a fallacy is the nearby neighbor thing, right? So I know this is popular with everybody. I'm going to give kind of an example here of what you should do and what you should don't, what you should do and what you should don't, what you should do and what you should not do when it comes to marketing your open house, your listing, or whatever to the nearby neighbors, right? The goal of the nearby neighbors hustle is to capture another listing, right? Likely the person next door is not going to buy the house. Not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm saying it's not the likeliest of occurrences, right? The reason why you're marketing and telling these lovely people here about your listing is because you want them to know, you want to brand yourself, and you want everybody in this neighborhood to know you are the realtor of this neighborhood, right? You put your sign up, you're selling this house, you're going to sell it successfully. And hey, why don't you think about doing the same thing? I mean, would we all agree that that's the goal?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So if we want someone to list their house and we want to do a campaign, it's based off of that. We need to look at some historical stuff about this neighborhood, right? So I pulled all the nearby neighbors, and what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at past sales, right? So sometimes people believe, and it's okay if you have believed this, that you create the sale, right? And in reality, that's not true. The homeowner creates the listing, right? Before you came at some point, this wife and her husband, or this husband and the wife, or whatever is happening, right, have had a discussion at some point that they're going to sell their house. This has happened before you even came there, right? So every listing that you have, it's not like you introduced the idea and then magically, you know, brainwash or manipulated this homeowner into selling their house. Not saying it hasn't happened. I'm sure it has at some point, but that's not the vast majority of transactions. Most of the time they make a decision and you happen to come around before they, you know, as they're making this decision, and then you pick up the listing, right? That's how the decision making process happens. So you cannot create sales. The sales are going to be there regardless if you're there or another real estate agent is. So what we want is a large amount of sales to be happening among the people that you're marketing to. And you know, this word predictive analytics gets tossed around a lot. What predictive analytics is basically looking at historical behavior of a certain segment of the population to predict what they're going to do next, right? That's what data is all about. So in that light, I'm looking at this report, and what this is telling me is that the average price, of these 200 homes that I pulled, the nearby neighbors, the average price is 650,000, right? There's been 4 sales in the last 12 months, which is about 2% of those homes, right? So 2% of the 200 homes is 4. And 15% of these is non-owner occupied. So we'll just put that information aside for a second. The bottom right is showing me the last 5 years, right? So I could see here, as you can, if you're thinking, Matt, that doesn't look good, you're right. This does not look good, right? I don't want to market here. Why? Because this is actually going to look better than my check, because I'm not getting all 4 of these. It's not going to happen, right? You probably get maybe 20% of that, which is not even 1. So you look at this graph, this is like your check, your commission check, not good. Unless you like, canned tomatoes and rice for lunch. I've been there. That's not where you want to be. So what you want to do is look for areas where there are sales happening, because remember, taking that logic again, that the sale's going to happen regardless if you're there or not. We want those sales to be happening. We just want them to be happening for you, right? The listing should be happening for you. So what we're going to do is look at the zip code 92840, because I don't want to market to those people. There's not enough people selling homes. So I'm going to pull, I still want to be in the area. Absolutely. Like, I don't want to, advertise my just listed in Los Angeles, when it's in Orange County, or anything else, right? So I'm just going to go, right? Why I'm changing this to carrier route, as some of you may know, there's every door direct. I want to break this down to carrier routes so I can get bulk mail discounts. And I want to see which carrier route's the best. So super simple. I'm just looking for a high volume of sales.
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
What do you consider like a percentage of homes is like a good idea to send or to start reaching out to, as far as how many homes are in that neighborhood and how many sales within how many months?
Well, the national average is 4%.
Okay.
That's the national average on the turnover rate. For your state, it differs state by state, because as you know, some places there's a lot of people pushing in there, right?
Yeah.
California's turnover rate's not that great because people don't want to move into a $1 million 1-bedroom condo, right? So it does depend on the state. What you can do for your own state, if you really want to take it down to a science, I use 4% as my baseline, but if you want to take it down as a science, then and get really, crazy with it, you can go look at the total amount of sales in your state and then find out the total amount that sold last year and divide those numbers, right? Obviously a smaller number first, and you'll get a percentile. So then you'll know what your average turnover rate is in Oregon, and you can use that as a baseline. But mostly it's safe to say 4% is usually pretty good. And this sorts it from highest to lowest, so you don't really need to worry too much about that. You could just pick the one that's kind of close to what you're doing. Like this to me is close to what I'm doing, because I was just looking for a list of 200, but this is 160, right? So let's say I'm spending, which I don't, but let's say I'm spending $1 a mailer. This would be 168 bucks to market to these people as opposed to 200. I'm looking at potential sales of 8 instead of 4, so I've got double as many potential sales. And the average price of homes is $10 million. Like, well, okay, Could definitely do that.
Yeah.
Double the sales and like, 10 times, what, 20 times the commission? I can totally do that.
Yeah, get that
Um,
sale and it might have you set for the year.
yeah, right. I can get Clea a cyborg leg, should be more machine than dog. So the next step is really figuring out what do you want to do with this, right? So I know I talked about mail. Mail is very popular. Everybody loves sending mail. We all like sending mail, let's be honest, because we don't have to talk to the homeowner, right? Unless they're interested.
Yeah, pay for stamps.
Right?
Right. It's kind of like a set and forget type of situation, and you get calls. But the thing is, like your conversion on direct mail is going to be significantly lower than anything else, right? Because you're not talking to the homeowner, you're just sending them mail, and mail's like a, what's that?
You don't know if they're gonna read it.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't know if they're going to read it. If you want to increase the chances of them reading it, you need them to see your face, right? If you want to increase the chances of them reading it, you need to talk to them on a regular basis on the phone. Either way, you need to talk to them, right? So if I pick up a piece of mail, I have never seen this person before. It's some, hey, I want to sell your house. See, it's out, right? But if I pick up a piece of mail and you knocked on my door, maybe gave me a calendar, or a box of cookies or whatever, right? Then I'm gonna go, oh yeah, it's Matt, it's Matt, he gave me those cookies. This is cool. He's, oh, cool, right? Now, if I'm thinking about selling my house and I have that same reaction, presto, right? Boom, now I got myself a listing because he's like, oh, look, it's Matt. I have been thinking about selling my house. I kind of changed my mind since I last talked to him on the phone or at my door when he was walking his three-legged dog. I've changed my mind at this point, right? You're fishing in the water. You got to keep throwing your thing in. So one of the other challenges in real estate marketing is the consistency, and it is the marketing methods. You must get in front of that homeowner. It must happen, right? You must talk to the homeowner in some way. Some people are phone people, which is fine. You can talk to them by phone. You don't have to knock on their door. Some people are door knocking people, right? It's fine. You can knock on their door. You don't have to call them. But you do need to talk to them because look at these $10 million houses. You think they're going to sell their $10 million house with me, the guy they never met, never talked to on the phone just because I sent them a postcard? Absolutely not. It's not going to happen, right? It may happen. It may happen like maybe 0.01% of the time, but you're wishing upon a star if that's your only campaign.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
We have a question in the chat box. Can you see that?
Chat box, yes.
Okay.
If 4% turnover rate suggests the area is a good idea to target, what about lower rates? Does this software has access to areas that have been without sales for long periods of time, i.e. properties that have been owned for 20 plus years in the region? Yes, absolutely. You can aim for lowest turnover rate if you wish, but that would be a major mistake. So look, I can go all the way down to here. Let's take this one, for example, right? This one's is a 0.5% of a turnover rate. I'm gonna pick the worst one. There's been one sale in the last 12 months. Let's look historically. So think about this. You will never affect the turnover rate. So remember that. You will not affect the turnover rate as a person, as an individual. And now if you go and if you go into a neighborhood and you start building houses, you can affect the turnover rate. But you as a realtor will not affect the turnover rate. In other words, even if you were Tony Robbins and you came flying into this neighborhood that has a 180 homes and only one is sold in the last 12 months, you're not gonna magically come in and convince a bunch of people all of a sudden to sell their house, right? You can see when these houses were built in 1938. Yes, you could come in and sell somebody's house that's been there a long time and then try and downsize it, but there's definitely better methods than targeting a block of neighborhood with no sales. The result you will get is probably the result that you're thinking, which is you will not get any sales in that area. Another big question. This one's not in the chat box, but it's a common question that kind of goes along the same lines. Is what about if it's a high turnover rate area? Doesn't that mean that there's going to be a lot of competition? Yes, that does mean there's going to be competition. And if you start a hot dog stand, you will also have competition. And if you start a bar, you're going to have competition, right? If you're in business in any sense, including my data business here, is we have competition, you know, believe it or not. You'll always have competition. That does not mean that you should run when there's competition. You should fight when there's competition. You should be the best. You should use data to make sure your targets are accurate and you got a nice pocket of homes, because maybe that other person's not using data and they don't have a competitive edge, right? Maybe they're not knocking on doors. Maybe they're not making phone calls. You should be looking for chinks in this person's armor rather than running away to some area like this, right? Where there's no sales happening. Because basically what you've done at that point is they haven't put you out of business. You put yourself out of business. You ran away from the competition and then you got stuck in an area that doesn't perform, which sucks. I don't know where I just went with that. Oops. I'll pull my list up back up again. So we get our high turnover rate farm. What are we going to do with this guy, right? Well, you have a few different options. I'm just pulling a different farm because I habitually deleted the list. So you have a few different options. You can throw this into a CSV file. If you have Corefact, you can send it to them. Actually, if you go here, you can put in your username and password for Corefact. And you can also export this to Facebook, do Facebook target ads. So Facebook target ads, are they awesome? Yeah, they're awesome. It's just like direct mail, probably a little better than direct mail. But
Because we have a couple of people that are doing that, so that's great that it integrates just right to it. And then the CSV file is what we need if somebody is using our OneSuite in-house CRM. So that's awesome.
yeah, I mean, this Facebook thing is going to create a CSV file too, right? The difference is that the CSV file is made for Facebook. So if you have done the Facebook target ads, it sounds like some of you have, you know, the whole import process is not great, right? You have to change all the headers and all that stuff. I hate importing stuff too, trust me. And I build computers, you know, I still get errors on importing stuff. But if you click this, it creates a file for you. All you got to do is drag and drop it. You drag and drop the file. You don't change anything. It's that easy, super simple. And what's cool is that you're hitting everybody with Facebook target ads on data that probably people on Facebook and other realtors on Facebook target ads are not using, right? So they'll go send it out to the nearby neighbors. Well, you're sending it out to the nearby neighbors too, but you're sending it out to the ones that are habitually selling, right? The pocket that's habitually selling. So have fun with the, you know, what did we have, a 2% turnover rate thing? I'm just going to go ahead and go over here and get double the sales as you did, you know, using Facebook target ads and maybe some door knocking. Another method of marketing, actually, I'll stop there for some questions real quick. We're actually doing good on time, believe it or not. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'm gonna hit clear search. Boom. Another way of marketing is going to be target marketing. So someone mentioned the 20-year ownership, which I know we talked about turnover rate, but here's something good for people that are older and you want to aim at that and look for people that want to downsize. What if you say, I'll take the city of whatever, and I'll add in number of stories, and I'll say greater than or equal to 2-story house, right? And then I'll go empty nester, yes, right? So what does this mean? This is somebody that has owned their house for 30 years and they have 3+ bedrooms. So what is this combination? I am looking for someone that's elderly, that has a 2-story house, that has 3 or more bedrooms, that has been there at least 30 years, right? So I know that the type of person living in that house probably had kids. That's why they had 3 bedrooms, right? Those kids are gone at this point. So it's an empty nester. They have a 2-story house and they're elderly. I don't know about you guys, my knees are already hurting. I don't want a 2-story house. My dog doesn't want a 2-story house. She's 11, you know. Yeah, nobody wants a 2-story house that's, you know, got knees that hurt, right? And a matter of fact, if I go look into the city, if it's anything like that, look, out of this entire city, this is how many people that fit that category actually have a 2-story house. 229. This is the city of Anaheim where Disneyland is. So you can imagine how many people are in that city. This is how many people are left to have that, right? And I knew that, as you could probably tell, I knew this number would be low because I've searched this category all over the country, right? This sells really well. It's an underutilized data set because a lot of people don't know about it. Other types of things, big things, right? Death, divorce. And I'm not a big fan of for sale by owner because the people tend to be pretty narcissistic. But if that's your flavor, you know, go for it, right?
Decided they don't need me.
Usually, yeah, usually you have to sit on and be like, do this whole advisory role hustle where you sit around and wait for them to fail and help them out, you know, here and there until they fall on their face. So you could be the first one there is usually the thing. It's just not my jam. I mean, it could be your jam. I've seen a lot of people do good with it. These are involuntary liens, so like IRS tax liens, unpaid utility bills, obviously signs of financial stress, right? They could want to sell their house. People that are pending litigation, people that are in foreclosure and probates, right? This actually is my favorite. They call me the Grim Reaper. I am the only one smiling when there's deaths happening. And why is that? Because people that inherit properties sell the properties at massive rates, right? I call these lists, I find deals. So I like this category the most. Not because somebody died, I'm not that awful, but because it's just the other side of this is probate, right? Probate is like playing family therapist, not into that. This is a clear beneficiary. That beneficiary is on title, the person's dead. There's no contests, you know, there's no, you know, Maggie stole my toy when she was 6. I hate her. I don't want her to get any of the equity. None of that. It's just, you call the person, they own the house. Hey, I just inherited this. Oh, cool. Let me take it off your hands, right? You already have a house. You don't need that house. So that's a good one. Divorce could be a little tricky. One tactic you could do is go to the house and act like whoever the other person. So there's one person is going to be home, the other person is not, right? They don't usually file for divorce and then they're just hanging out, right? They file for divorce and usually one person's staying with their mother or, you know, whatever, a friend, you know, and then the other person's staying there. So you come over with a report showing the value of the home, but you say somebody ordered it from here, right? Well, nobody ordered it from here, but they'll assume that their ex ordered the report for the value. So you make the suggestion, hey, once you get in on the conversation, right? I don't know who ordered it. Maybe they did, right? So that's a little trick. Another thing about divorce is you probably wanna avoid the first month because things can get a little dicey, right?
From
I don't-
experience,
Now, is that when they first file that it comes?
Yeah, that's why I was saying you wanna kinda watch out, like the first month. I had a few situations that were not pleasant from coming in a little too soon. And don't mention the divorce. That's the other thing. Let them mention the divorce. Don't come up and start talking about that you're the divorce expert, or put it on a postcard and send them, I'm a divorce expert, real estate agent, right? They're not gonna be happy with your expertise, because they're gonna think, how the hell do you know I'm getting a divorce,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I looked you up on Title Toolbox. Right? This software, this data software, I'm sure they'll be excited about that. Yeah, so any of these, by the way, any of these methods of farming is valid. Any of them. You could just pick one and go, right? That's my main advice to you. Pick one and go, but don't do what everybody else is doing. If you go look at the National Association for Realtors statistics, and you look at the amount of realtors that are actually succeeding, you can see the amount of people that you should actually believe, right? And you should take advice from, which is very, very few, right? There's only, I think, 15 or 10% of realtors that are really killing it. So there's about 15 to 10% of realtors that you should listen to, especially the ones that are killing it. And outreach has always been difficult for a lot of realtors. A lot of them are killing it on sphere of influence, right? But there's one thing about your sphere of influence. One, you got to constantly grow it. So outreach campaigns absolutely essential. And two, you can squeeze that thing dry. So if you rely on just your sphere of influence, you might run out of stuff unless you do constantly grow your sphere of influence. So you should always have two going. You hit your internal database and your external database at the same time, you should do good. And any other questions? I'm gonna kind of wrap things up here.
Couple questions.
Sure.
Does this program cost anything?
the only cost to you is if you want, this program will also give you emails and phone numbers.
So anything that was marked Premier?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're 5 cents and it's
This guy.
cents.
Okay. Matt, do you know what the bounce rate is typically for the phones and emails? We've had a lot of issues with buying lists, and then the bounce rate is just ridiculously high.
Yeah. I mean, we use Data Trace, which is the best phone vendor out there. I'm sure there's gonna be some things here and there, but with all data, but I mean, as far as phone vendors, we've tested all of them.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, the second place for us was Kohl's Directory, but they didn't even come close to these guys.
And you can get information anywhere in the US.
Oh, wow.
It's not just here in Central Oregon.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I mean, you'll notice like when you try and pull phones, it gives you a count of the total, right? So this is something you should know too. Make sure you read this. These
okay.
guys are giving you information. A lot of people don't read this and they get surprised, right? When you get phones, it skip traces each number. So unlike other data systems, it doesn't have a preconceived phone list that it just pings against it, right? If the phones, it pulls the phones new every day. So we don't know how many phones we're gonna get when we go and pull the phone numbers. We usually get about 65, 75% of them. You don't pay for phones that we don't capture, right? Obviously. But yeah, you're gonna get the best numbers.
So there's no package for the Premier, or is there, or is it just per à la carte?
Yeah, you just pay for it as you go. I
Okay.
mean, if you were to go to us directly and just like order this data, it'd be a lot more expensive because you're going through, our partner. You guys are getting a really good rate on the data through here.
Okay, awesome.
Anything else?
Anybody have any other questions?
Matt, could you kind of list some of the other things that they can do with Title Toolbox?
Like a quick list.
Yeah,
You are able to pull net sheets that use our data to automatically fill out the net sheet for you. Right, so you know what the net sheet looks like. So in other words, that means I pull over the title fees, the closing costs, the property taxes, the encumbrances. Really, all you gotta fill out is what do you wanna charge, right? The brokerage fees. And the amount that you wanna sell the house for. That's it. Other than that, we already fill everything out for you. And it looks like this at the end. You could send this over to your seller or buyer, right? You can also pull property reports, which is gonna have detailed comps, chain of title, transaction history, stuff like that. So that's what this is right here.
Are there more in-depth classes or like webinars online that we could watch while we kind of tinker with this?
Yes, you can go to YouTube and look up the channel called Benutech, which is BENUTECH. So Bravo, Echo, Nancy, Umbrella, and Tech Like Technology. And there's all kinds of ideas in there.
Plus, you can reach out through me. I'm Annette Zukaitis with the Shoots, who we are the one bringing this to you guys today. I've left some of our business cards here, and we can help you out as you learn it. We're still learning a lot about it too. There's great information in this program that not everyone has access to.
And
Yeah, your reps really have been calling, like call me, if not bi-daily, at least weekly, and get new ideas for you guys constantly. So you could look at your reps as almost like your coaches. I give them all the stuff that I know. I pour it into them, and they're always asking me for another idea. Give me another idea, Matt, give me another idea, right? They know all these ideas. I mean, they're like a resource for you that's amazing. I mean, you don't see this kind of service too outside of the West Coast with title insurance companies. So you guys have got is sick. If you go to like Florida, New York, New Jersey, which I have, you don't have any of this kind of service, where like someone's going to give you marketing advice, that comes from consultants. That's unheard of. So definitely I would take advantage of that to the fullest extent. Because a lot of times too in real estate, you do get coaches that tell you the right thing. The problem is they don't tell you how to do it. Because I remember I got taught the whole turnover rate thing way back in the day, but they never taught me how to do it. Or when they did, actually, I had to use, I think, 3 or 4 different systems in an Excel sheet, like to calculate it. There was no magic button that you click on and it just tells you what it is. Or even better, a whole list of carrier routes, sorted from highest to lowest to tell me which one's the best, I would have killed for something like that in like 2009.
Hey, Matt,
Yeah,
can you, or do you have, and can send us like a 1 or 2 page kind of overview of everything? Kind of, or most of the main points that this can do?
We're in the process of putting something
Okay.
like that together.
Perfect, we would love a copy of that, and I'm gonna send this out to everybody in the office so they can refer back to it, and then for the people that weren't able to be here as well, that this is something that they can access as well.
And you can see Danetta Ryder on the screen there, on the right, waving. She does our customer service, and she probably is the one that has dug into this program even as much, if not more, than we have. She also has GIS background. So she is an awesome tool for you guys to reach out to. I can get you her phone number and email as well, because she's just a whiz on the computer.
And she's who I go to if I need something like this,
Yeah.
I just, I need to know that, can you, what can you do for me? And,
Perfect.
yeah.
Very good. Anything
Cool.
else? Any other questions?
No, I think this is an amazing tool, and just thank you for providing it, mostly free of charge. And I think this is definitely something that, you know, especially with our new agents or those that are trying to grow their business, that's something we will definitely encourage them to utilize, for sure.
Hey, Matt, I have a question.
yes.
We talked a little bit last time about how agents can partner with lenders and they can turn leads into each other. So if you partner with, so the agents can partner with a lender and vice versa, and how Title Toolbox can play into, hey, I've got a lead for a lender that I can't help, but maybe this is my lender partner, and then the lender partner, when they're doing their stuff, can also refer to the agent. How would you use Title Toolbox to help with that?
I mean, from the realtor's perspective, I'd say the only time that would come into play is on divorce, right? So, cause it's gonna go one way or the other, and that's like it's like a win-win. If they cash out, you give it to your loan officer partner. If they sell the house, obviously you sell their house, and then the loan officer can do 2 loans, cause they'll probably buy another 2 houses, right? One for one and one for the other. On the lender side, you know, there are some lenders. I don't even want to dive into that. I don't want to dive into what the lender's strategies are right now, because most of that stuff's under non-disclosure that I've talked to them about. But yeah, lenders are trying to do some good things for real estate agents right now. We'll just put it that way.
Thank you very much for your time, Matt and Danetta. I don't know if you have any input you'd like to share from what you see people requesting in customer service.
Most of them are doing the area searches around. They're not doing the special ones like Matt's showing. But I put my email and my phone number in there. If anybody wanted to pick it up, if they had any questions or anything, they can shoot me an email or give me a call.
Oh, you know, one last thing I want to throw in there, consistency before I leave. How often should you be hitting these people up? Constantly until you're dead or until you leave real estate, which will hopefully be until you're dead, right? I hope that this is a lifelong career. But you should never stop marketing, not on Christmas, not on Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people like to cheat, not do anything. I mean, think about it, Christmas, you're opening up mail on Christmas. Everybody is. What better time for your advertisement to be seen? So the goal is not always just, I mean, the goal is obviously to get listings, right? But just because you don't get a listing appointment back from some marketing that you've done doesn't mean that your marketing is a failure. It just means it hasn't set yet. So sometimes, actually, a lot of times, I see people do marketing campaigns and they do it for 2 months. And it's heartbreaking to me because I know that they've just taken that money and burned it. You don't show a commercial twice, right? You don't show a commercial 3 times. You show a commercial 100 times. You constantly hit people, right? Constantly. And if anything, you should add more. If you don't get the amount of leads that you want, add more to your marketing. If you're just sending out mail, then start knocking on doors. If you're just knocking on doors, start sending out mail and making phone calls. You should be tripling, doubling, quadrupling down on your efforts, never taking away from them. And you should at least hit everybody with once a month. So I just want to leave you off with that.
Looks like we have a question. Chase is raising his hand.
Yeah,
Chance.
Chase.
Yeah. So kind of touching on what you had just said, I'm
Yeah,
not sure, I don't remember if you mentioned this, but are you able to save the particular farming searches that you create? So that
Yeah,
we can access them
absolutely.
later? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you can both save it as a query, and if you save the list itself, by the way, it automatically updates without you having to do anything. So if somebody moves in or somebody moves out, the list updates itself.
Perfect. Thank you.
Don't need to pull it twice. No problem.
Well, if there's not any other questions, do you guys?
I don't think so. This was awesome. So thank you again. And
Cool, I'm glad you guys like it.
yeah, absolutely. And what we might do is schedule another one of these, like in
Okay.
2 or 3 months or something like that. Especially as I feel like agents need that reminder.
It is good. It is good to check in every once in a while. And I'm sure too, the reps will be checking in. It's great to have somebody to be accountable to, right? I have to be accountable to my girlfriend, who's she's a salesperson. So we kind of had like this deal where we're like accountable to each other for certain responsibilities, sales wise, right? Because I have goals and she has goals. So we'll keep each other accountable. I don't think there's anybody above that. Like we all need to check in with somebody, make sure we're still consistent, especially in a business like this, because this business it can be stressful when you're not making a lot of money because you're like, nobody has a job like real estate agents do. Like most people have salaries and stuff they can fall back on. There's nothing. It can get really stressful. So it's like more important for real estate agents than anybody else to be accountable on their marketing.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
again.
Thanks,
Have a
Matt.
good one.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So you'll want to stop the recording.
You're my computer girl.
Did anybody have any questions in that?
Did you have any customer service questions, just general?
One thing that I would love, there's 2 things, I guess. If you could put together like a contact list saying who our agents should contact for what, that would be super helpful, especially for our new agents. Yeah, that would be really helpful. The other thing is Bend is super heavily farmed. Do you guys have any way of kind of putting together a list of maybe either the least or the most farmed neighborhoods so that maybe our agents have a better chance possibly of getting something?
What do you think, Danetta? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to
Like who or what areas are people asking for the most like labels from? Because typically that means they're farming.
yeah,
Something like that.
we haven't had a whole lot of label list in Bend actually, so I don't know that there's much much that many are doing down there. I've had some in Redmond, but it's just kind of slowed down for the last little while.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know that it slowed down because I don't think now with the market shift is the time to slow down. Now is the time to double down
Right.
and increase your marketing. Because that's right, I do think people are worried that they're not gonna make as much and they're somewhat discouraged. And so they put it on pause. And I don't think that's the right way to approach it. And if we can kind of take advantage and scoot in there, then I think that's something great that we can do.
And that's where with this product, where you can search like the empty nesters, the
Yeah.
2-story homes, the communities that are the areas with higher turnover rates.
Yeah,
Those are all products that this system can pull that the others don't.
yeah, that's awesome.
So, it's worth getting in there and learning. And what I will do is get a list from you of the agents you want me to put in here.
Okay,
And get set up, and then you guys can all go in and kind of play with it, and then you can come back in. Or give me a call. I've left some of my business cards,
okay,
and we can help you out. And if I don't know it, I'll call Matt, because
Okay.
he's really helpful in his own success.
yeah, I mean, this is something I want all of the agents in. Especially with it being a free tool, there's no reason that anybody shouldn't be in it if it's something that's being provided. Obviously, we can't make them utilize it,
Right.
but at least get them in there
Yeah.
and hopefully that gives them us a better chance of utilizing it.
Right, right. But once people start using it and seeing what it can do,
Yeah,
it helps. And like I said, because Matt's actually done this, he's really been, they're very creative.
that's
on
awesome.
what they've done.
And Danetta, you have something that you've been doing recently too, if somebody has a new listing, that you can put the address in there and then it'll generate, that it's like a lead generator tool, it'll tell you in the neighborhood of that listing, how many potential sales would be in there because of death, divorce, you know, all of those kinds of things. So
Right.
your lead could be, lead into those houses that you target would be, I have a listing in your neighborhood, and you know you have a pretty good chance of maybe getting that listing because they've got a reason to need to sell.
Right,
So there maybe there isn't that many results necessarily, you know, maybe only a few results, but I think that they're really good.
they're more targeted.
They're more targeted.
Yeah.
So Danetta, is that something that like if an agent has a new listing, they can contact you and ask you for that, what do they call that, a lead generator or what,
It's a lead sheet.
a lead sheet?
Yeah, and absolutely, if they get new listings, check with me because it looks around that home 2.5 miles and it pulls everything from the county. Whether they're bankruptcies, list pens, deaths, divorces, whatever, and it'll put it on the sheet. And surprising, there's quite a bit around the homes I've been finding lately.
And again, to get those documents, the agents go in and you have to put your credit card in. We don't pay for those documents.
But there aren't that many of the results, so
No,
it's not gonna
they're-
cost a ton.
It really pinpoints at the most, 14, 18, I don't know, it depends on the neighborhood.
Okay,
But
Yeah.
it will tell you what the total price is
okay,
prior to even seeing what the documents are.
right. Well, it looks like we can do that in this,
Yes.
Yes.
because you can
Yes.
compile each of the categories that you're wanting to target.
Well, that sheet she'd give you would give you that.
Perfect, okay, awesome,
So you could do it on your own, or you could do it, have Danetta do it for you.
okay.
It's-
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Janetta.
Yeah, you bet, Annette. Becky, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.